As the evening settles in, let's travel back in time to a small, mist-swathed corner of 10th century Jai Co Viet, early medieval Vietnam, where the river breathes against the muddy banks and the bamboo groves whisper your name. You're not a warrior or a noble. You're not even a scribe. You're a simple villager born to the tides, and your life, though quiet, is anything but uneventful. You wake well before the sun even thinks about showing its face, stirred by the sound of frogs arguing under your floorboards and the soft creak of your family's stilt house as someone shifts above you. A rooster crows, naturally, 5 seconds after you're already awake. Typical. You stretch, scratch at an itchy mosquito bite on your shoulder, and swing your legs over the woven mat. The cool air kisses your skin, and the dampness of last night's rain clings to the bamboo slats. Outside, the village paths are slippery with dew and yesterday's silt. You balance expertly, barefoot, along a narrow log connecting your family's home to your neighbor's. It's a bit like living in a water park, if that water park were mostly mud, biting insects, and the constant threat of stepping on a sharp shellfish. Still, you move with the practiced rhythm of someone who's been avoiding duck dropping since toddlerhood. The river is already awake. Thin fog snakes across its surface, curling like incense smoke, and the scent of damp earth and wood smoke fills your nostrils. Someone's already lit a cooking fire nearby, and the smoke wafts into your eyes, making them tear up, either from the smoke or from the realization that yes, today is another fishing day, and no, your net did not magically mend itself overnight. You crouch near your gear, a roughly woven cast net, fraying at the edges, which your grandfather says he once repaired with a porcupine quill. Historians still argue whether porcupines even lived in this area back then, but Grandpa insists. And who are you to challenge family mythology? You finger the holes in the net, sigh, and get to work. Your brother, who claims he was about to help, is busy chasing off a duck that keeps trying to peck at your net weights. Your little cousin giggles from the porch above, tossing rice husks at both of you like some tiny emperor of chaos. It's barely dawn, and you're already mildly annoyed. Your mother appears behind you with a bowl of steaming chow, rice porridge that's more water than rice, but still somehow comforting. She hands it to you with a knowing smile, then vanishes to tend the smoke-belching clay stove, which doubles as the village's most reliable mosquito repellent. As you eat, you watch your father load the boat. It's a shallow wooden vessel, patched many times, but it floats, mostly. He nods at you to hurry. You slurp the last of your porridge and toss the bowl to your cousin, who misses the catch entirely and yelps as it rolls into the mud. The boat wobbles as you climb in. Your father doesn't speak much. His words are saved for fish, apparently. But he grunts approval as you secure the net. The river is high from the last monsoon, its surface dappled with leaves and the occasional stray sandal. You push off with a long bamboo pole, the cool water whispering beneath you. By mid-morning, you're knee-deep in river silt, casting your net in slow, looping arcs that shimmer in the rising sun. You watch for fish patterns, little blips of movement in the shallows. Every splash is a maybe. Every quiet patch is a waiting game. And yes, sometimes a leech. Don't think about it too much. As you wade, you pass another villager, old Ba Huang, who fishes with nothing but a woven basket and a death glare that could turn a catfish inside out. She's muttering about river spirits again, specifically The one she swears lives under that leaning mangrove and stole her bamboo hat last week. It's easy to laugh, but you've heard stranger things. Your cousin once saw a water buffalo freeze mid-chew and stare at the river like it heard something whisper. And your uncle once said he dreamt of a crocodile with human eyes. Bad fish, Moon, he muttered the next morning, then tripped into a basket of crabs. Coincidence? Maybe. By the time the sun's properly risen, you've caught 3 respectable fish, 1 confused frog, and what might be a sandal from the kingdom of Champa. Your father raises an eyebrow at the last item, but says nothing. He just flicks it back into the river, like bad luck tossed over your shoulder. You return to shore to check traps tied along the bank, woven cones baited with shrimp shells and stubborn hope. One trap contains a wriggling silver eel, which thrashes angrily until your father whacks it with a stick and drops it into the catch basket. A delicacy, he says. You believe him, though you personally think it tastes like river-flavored rope. As the morning stretches on, your back aches from bending, your arms itch from the reeds, and your mind drifts toward breakfast round 2. You think briefly of becoming a monk. Less mud, probably. But you remember, monks have to shave their heads, and you've spent years growing this hair. You decide to stay a fisherman. For now. The boat creaks as you push off again, heading toward the floating market. A thin mist lingers over the trees, and birds flit between branches like scraps of silk. Somewhere upstream, a drumbeat thuds, a call to temple, or just someone trying to scare a monkey off their grain jar. Either way, it's background music to your routine. As the village fades behind you, the world grows larger and quieter, stretching out in muddy shades of green and brown. There's a calmness here, broken only by the creak of the oar and the occasional splash of something you hope isn't watching you. You don't know it yet, but the afternoon will bring odd visitors, spiced rumors, and a near miss involving a pile of fermented shrimp paste. But for now, the river carries you forward, rocking gently as the sun climbs higher overhead. The current is slow today, almost lazy, like it knows you're too tired to fight it. You lean into the oar with a practiced rhythm, steering toward the market boats that bob along the wider bend of the river. It's not exactly a bustling scene, more like a floating neighborhood of sleepy commerce, where half the traders are dozing in the sun and the other half are quietly yelling about onions. You tie your boat to a makeshift bamboo pole driven into the riverbank and nod to the woman selling clay pots out of a canoe. She nods back, then squints suspiciously at your eel. You consider offering her a trade, 1 slightly judgmental eel for 2 of her cracked bowls, but decide to keep it. Grandpa says eel helps with knee aches, though you're still suspicious he made that up after dropping one in the soup and refusing to admit it. A trader floats by, offering jackfruit, dried squid, and gossip. You buy the jackfruit because your sister likes it, then linger as the gossip kicks in. Someone up the river swears they saw a merchant boat sunk by river gods for overpricing cinnamon bark. More like termites, mutters your father under his breath. You nearly choke laughing. The trader leans closer and lowers her voice. But did you hear about the spirit in the mangroves? Took a fisherman's voice. Left only a burp. She makes the sound, solemnly. You thank her and paddle away before she starts acting it out. As midday heat settles over the water, the air thickens. Even the birds seem to be napping. You steer back toward the fishing grounds. This time, further out, where the river opens up like a lazy yawn. A family of ducks paddles past, looking smug. You glance at them warily. One of them definitely stole your lunch once. You pause to cast your net again, enjoying the quiet. That's when the water buffalo appears. Not in the river, thankfully, but on the far bank. It lumbers along, dragging a rope that someone clearly gave up on. Its massive body sways with the grace of a hungover elephant, and you swear it gives you a look. Not aggressive, more like, "You're not catching anything, are you?" You try to ignore it, but it keeps pace with your boat as you drift downstream. When it finally veers into the brush, you almost miss it. Almost. Further along the bend, you find another familiar figure, Bak Min, the old fisherman with exactly 3 teeth and 27 contradictory opinions. He's balancing on a log, arguing with a frog about whose pond it is. You wave. He waves back with a net full of mud and one very angry crab. "Good catch today," he shouts, though it's unclear whether he means the crab or the frog. Historians still argue whether men like Bak Min were just eccentric or the closest thing a fishing village had to an oracle. He claims to dream of fish patterns and even once predicted a flash flood because his left knee buzzed. You don't believe him, but you do check your traps more carefully whenever he mutters about frogs. You paddle to a shallower spot to check another trap. This one holds a small school of fish, wriggling in protest. As you gather them, a boat sidles up beside yours. A young trader leans over and offers to buy one of your fish with 2 sticks of sugar cane and a badly carved whistle. You agree, not for the trade, but because your cousin will love the whistle and your uncle can gnaw the sugar cane while pretending it helps his stomach. You float for a bit, letting the current guide you, and soak in the view. The jungle stretches on both sides of the river, dense and humid. You catch the scent of blooming ylang-ylang, heady and sweet, and the distant smoke of someone's lunch fire. A nearby boat is trying to herd ducks using a palm frond. It's not going well. You watch in silent sympathy as the ducks scatter like spilled beans. One makes a break for it and hops aboard your boat. You raise your eyebrows. It quacks once and settles at your feet, smugly. You've been chosen. Again. Eventually, it's time to start heading back. The sun is higher now, glaring down as if personally offended by your lack of sunscreen. Your shoulders sting. You shift the baskets, now sloshing gently with your morning's catch, and untie the boat. The duck waddles into a corner and begins grooming itself like it owns the place. As you pole your way home, you pass the mangrove grove again. The one Ba Huang insists is haunted. You squint. Nothing seems out of place, just twisted roots and hanging vines. Still, the air is oddly still. You find yourself rowing faster. Not because you're scared, of course. Just efficiency, speed, forward momentum. The wind picks up as you near the village, sending little ripples across the water. You pass a cousin swimming near the dock, who shouts about a crab that stole her ring. You think she's joking, until she starts listing the crab's escape route in detail. Back on land, you unload your catch with aching arms. Your father grunts approval again, and you feel a flicker of pride. The eel alone will impress your grandmother, who hasn't smiled since the clay jar broke last week. You pause by the shrine near the river's edge, a modest affair of wood and stone tucked beside a weathered fig tree. You place a fish there, as is custom, and whisper a short thanks. Not to any one god, just a general, please don't sink the boat sort of prayer. Even in a village like this, where the days blur and the chores repeat. Small rituals matter. Small offerings. Small stories whispered between fish baskets and duck bites. The duck hops out of the boat and follows you home. You sigh. You're pretty sure this makes you a duck owner now. It's not the strangest thing that's happened today. You reach your stilt house just as the first hint of storm clouds curl in the distance. The air smells of wet leaves and wood ash. Monsoon's coming. You can hear it in the wind and feel it in your knees. Well, not yours, but definitely Grandpa's. Inside, there's warm rice waiting and a welcome place on the porch where you can sit, stretch your sore arms, and listen to the rain drum its way closer. You barely make it up the creaky steps of your stilt house before the rain begins. It starts as a whisper, just a few drops tapping curiously at the palm leaf roof, then escalates into a steady drumming, as though the sky has decided to rinse the entire village like an old rice pot. You strip off your damp outer tunic and hang it near the clay stove, where the fire's been coaxed back to life by your grandmother. She grumbles about the humidity and how the ancestors never had to fish in this kind of nonsense, which you suspect is untrue, but you nod respectfully anyway. Your younger siblings sit cross-legged on the floor, weaving simple fish traps from split bamboo while sneaking roasted peanuts when they think no one's watching. Your grandfather, half reclined on a mat and wrapped in an old blanket, gestures you over. His fishing pole lies beside him, cracked and polished from decades of use. You see that split in the handle? He asks, pointing. Got that the year the river rose to the temple roof. Caught a fish the size of your mother's cooking pot. Swear on my bones. Which bones? You ask. He cackles. All the ones that still hurt. You settle next to him, pulling your damaged net from its bundle. Together, in the warm dimness of the house, you begin mending it, loop by loop, knot by knot. The rhythm is soothing, like brushing hair or peeling lotus seeds. Occasionally, he corrects your grip or mutters about the modern way of weaving, which apparently started sometime after you were born. Rain pours off the thatched eaves in silver sheets. You can hear the slosh of rising puddles outside and the occasional sploosh of someone stepping in a place they shouldn't have. Probably your cousin again. Probably the duck. Around midday, your aunt calls everyone to help prepare the meal. In a kitchen that's really just a raised corner with a clay stove and a wide floor mat, you chop lemongrass, sort fish from the morning's haul, and try to avoid eye contact with the eel, who is still glaring at you from the basket like it knows what's coming. The meal takes shape slowly. Sour fish soup with tamarind, grilled tilapia rubbed with salt and betel leaf, steamed rice, and a strange pickle your aunt insists helps with dreams. Whether it helps good dreams or weird ones is unclear, but nobody's brave enough to ask. While the rice cooks, the family talks. Someone brings up the neighbor's cracked fishing jar again. The general consensus is that it's cursed. Specifically, cursed by great-great-aunt Lai, who was once denied a third serving of sticky rice and reportedly swore vengeance across 7 generations. Historians still debate whether ancestor curses were taken literally or mostly served as family-friendly explanations for unfortunate accidents, like losing a boat, dropping a rice ball, or sneezing at the wrong moment during a festival. But here, curses are part of the atmosphere, like humidity, or the duck, who has now climbed the stairs and is peering into the house with clear judgment. As the food simmers, the storm intensifies. Thunder grumbles low and lazy across the sky. like a hungry giant shifting in his sleep. You and your brother are tasked with fetching rainwater into clay jars, which mostly turns into a splash fight until your mother appears with that look that transcends centuries and cultures. The one that promises chores will become significantly less fun if you don't get it together. Back inside, lunch is finally served. Everyone gathers around the low trays, legs folded, bowls in hand. You inhale the aroma of hot rice, citrusy herbs, and charred fish skin. The first bite burns your tongue slightly, but is worth it. Flavors swirl: salty, sour, sweet, smoky. Even the eel has mellowed, though it still tastes like a side of revenge. Conversations drift with the steam. Uncle Tum remembers the time he fell into the river, trying to impress a girl. She married someone else, probably because he surfaced holding a clam instead of dignity. Your cousin mimics the dance he did afterward, and laughter ripples through the room like wind through reeds. It's the kind of slow, drawn-out meal that defines a home, not because of the dishes, but because of the rhythm of shared stories, the rustle of banana leaf wrappers, and the occasional clack of chopsticks dropped by overeager hands. Afterward, your grandmother places a small offering of food by the house shrine, just a few grains of rice, a bit of soup, and a peeled lychee. For the spirits. Always the spirits. Even on lazy, rainy days, they expect their share. Once the dishes are washed, and the leftovers wrapped in woven palm leaves, you step outside into the cleared air. The rain has eased, and the world glows with that wet, post-storm freshness. The river has swelled slightly, its banks soft and shimmering. You walk barefoot through the soft mud, helping your siblings collect bits of fallen fruit and small frogs who seem just as confused about the weather as you are. The duck follows you all the way to the footpath, occasionally pausing to inspect a particularly shiny pebble. You're beginning to think it might be smarter than your cousin. Back at the house, your mother sits weaving a fishing basket. Humming a tune she claims no one taught her. It's from the river, she says, when asked. The current hums it sometimes. You try listening for it, but mostly hear mosquitoes. Still, it's a comforting thought. A neighboring family visits, bringing pickled mango and updates on someone's new baby, who reportedly has eyes like a worried fish. You politely agree, though you've never seen a fish that looked particularly worried, mostly just annoyed or tasty. As the sky dims again and the clouds roll into soft lavender smudges, you begin repairing your sandals. You stitch new bark into the straps while your brother recites lines from a village poem he definitely doesn't understand. No one corrects him. He sounds confident, and that's most of poetry anyway. The duck sits beside you now, calmly preening itself, fully embracing its role as your sidekick. You don't know where it came from or why it chose you. Maybe that's just how the spirits work, subtle, odd, and mildly feathered. The lanterns are being lit around the village. Warm yellow glows spill onto porches. Laughter echoes from across the path. Somewhere, a flute plays a slow, plaintive tune that drifts lazily over the treetops. The evening has arrived, soft and sure. And as you gather your things for the shrine visit to come, you feel a hush settle over the world. Not silence, but a gentle pause. A reminder that even in a place full of mud, ducks, curses, and stubborn eels, there is rhythm. There is balance. There is peace. The path to the village shrine winds through ankle-deep puddles and the soft hush of evening sounds. Crickets tuning up, frogs croaking in earnest, and the far-off call of a night heron rising like a ghost from the reeds. You walk slowly, a woven basket in one hand and a wrapped fish offering in the other. The duck follows, of course, waddling with great purpose, as if it's been invited to the ceremony. The air is thick with moisture and the scent of crushed basil underfoot. Lanterns flicker on porches, their light casting long shadows that shimmer on the wet earth. You pass neighbors carrying small offerings: betel leaves, rice, tiny sugar cakes wrapped in banana leaves. A few nod to you in greeting. Others are already in that half-focused, half-reverent state reserved for things unseen. The shrine is simple: a stone platform under a canopy of banyan trees, moss-covered and slightly askew from centuries of roots pushing through the earth. Incense smoke curls upward in lazy spirals, and the offerings placed earlier today now sit among fresh petals and folded leaves. There's no priest here, no great ceremony. Just you, your neighbors, and the quiet respect shared by people who live at the mercy of weather, fish, and whatever else might be watching from the mangroves. You kneel and place your offering among the others. A fish, cleaned and wrapped in woven palm. A few cooked grains of rice. A strip of cloth dyed with turmeric. It's a modest gesture, but one that matters. Someone begins to sing, low and soft, not quite a melody, more a rhythmic chant that rises and falls like the tide. Others join in, and you do too, mouthing the words you've known since childhood, though no one remembers where they came from. Maybe from the spirits, your grandmother always said, or maybe from someone bored enough to make music with only a soup ladle and a sense of rhythm. You glance around as the singing continues. Elder Vaughn is here, wrapped in 3 layers of linen despite the heat, muttering something into the smoke. Children sit cross-legged nearby, not quite still, their attention drifting between the shrine and the mysterious promise of fireflies in the trees. Then Elder Vaughn begins the stories. He always tells them after shrine nightfall, when the mood is just right and the insects hum like background music. You settle into the grass, leaning against a dry patch of tree root, your body pleasantly sore from the day's work. Long ago, he begins, in that croaky, dramatic tone of someone who knows exactly how long everyone's attention span is. The gods walked these rivers. Of course they did. They always do in these stories. But he has your attention anyway. They came as crocodiles, he continues, with the eyes of tigers and the patience of stones. One such god, Ngai Ran, lived beneath the mangrove roots and guarded a pearl that could call the rain, or stop it altogether. You shiver slightly, not from fear, but from the way the breeze rustles the trees just then. Someone's fire pops. A child gasps. Elder Vaughn leans in conspiratorially. One day, a foolish fisherman threw his net too deep, too far. He hooked the pearl instead of fish. You mouth along with the next line, everyone knows it. He came back dry for 7 seasons. The moral changes each time. Sometimes it's about greed, other times about respecting old trees, or not skipping prayers. Tonight, it seems to be about not fishing near cursed mangroves unless you enjoy eternal humidity. Historians still debate whether these stories have deeper meanings or are simply the ancient version of "don't swim where the leeches live." But either way, they work. You haven't fished near that grove since you were 8. The fireflies emerge now, drifting like lazy sparks through the underbrush. Their light is soft and golden, blinking slowly as if trying to stay awake. You watch one land briefly on your basket before lifting off again in a sleepy arc. The duck has fallen asleep next to you, its head is tucked under one wing, its feet sprawled out like it's had a long philosophical day. You're tempted to name it, but somehow it feels disrespectful to label a creature who just accompanied you to a sacred shrine without once quacking out of turn. As the stories fade and the offerings burn low, people begin to drift back home. Some walk in groups, chatting quietly. Others carry the silence with them like a warm blanket. You linger, letting the scene settle into your bones. The river is barely visible in the distance, but you can hear it, steady and low, brushing against its banks like a lullaby you don't need to understand. You make your way back through the trees, fireflies bobbing beside you. The night is thick now, and the village hums with that special kind of quiet only known to places where darkness doesn't mean danger, just rest. Back at home, you wash your feet in a cracked clay basin, splash your face with cool water, and roll out your mat near the window, where the air is freshest. The duck finds its spot beside you, curling up like it was born knowing this house. The lantern glows gently. Someone hums outside. Maybe your mother, or maybe just the wind rubbing through the bamboo. You lie back, muscles sore but satisfied, ears full of rivers and legends and gently grilled eel. And just before your eyes close, you wonder, only half seriously, whether Ngai Ran is still under that mangrove, whether the pearl still glows, whether some other sleepy fisherman might stumble on it one day. You hope not. The weather's been just right lately. The night has fully embraced the village now, wrapping it in stillness and the soft sighs of the river. The moon peeks through wisps of drifting cloud, casting a pale sheen across the rooftops and making the puddles shimmer like tiny stars fallen to earth. Crickets chirp in steady rhythm, joined by the occasional low call of a nightbird in the mangroves. You lie still beneath the woven mat, your body slack, your thoughts drifting like the water you floated on earlier. The smells of dinner still linger faintly in the air, grilled lemongrass, steamed rice, and the last trace of incense smoke curling from the house shrine. It's the scent of a day well lived, of hands calloused by nets and feet washed clean by rain. Somewhere outside, a door creaks, a murmur of voices, a breath of wind, but none of it touches you. You're safely tucked into your corner of the world, small but essential, wrapped in family, routine, and just a touch of magic. You feel the warmth of the house settling beneath you, the gentle creak of bamboo, the sigh of sleeping siblings, the familiar presence of a feathered friend at your feet. There are no nets to mend now, no traps to check, just the slow rhythm of your breath syncing with the night, the hush of the world outside easing you into rest. Let the sounds fade further. Let the stories melt into dreams. Let the river's slow song carry you gently down its path, softly, quietly, deeper into sleep. Good night, traveler. You did well today.